Is it gonna be a new era? Like, what does that mean? It's very mysterious.
It's cool. I mean, it's something new has to happen.
The ending was a little bit of a clue as to where they may be heading.
I will say it caught me by surprise. So funny story there. So when the show was done, I made my way out of the garden and I basically found myself in front of the entrance where I was let in when the doors opened. And I saw a camera crew there with a large microphone and two giant white lights. I didn't know what this was for, but I knew I had to get myself involved. And sure enough, in just that little brief moment that was posted on Kiss's social media pages, I sort of cemented myself briefly in Kisstory. What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on the Kiss avatars. At the finale of Kiss's final concert at Madison Square Garden, which I was indeed present at, it was announced that a new era was beginning and that Kiss would carry out into the future as digital avatars. This announcement has divided a lot of fans and they all have their opinions, myself being one of them, and I briefly alluded to this announcement in my vlog where I went to the last show, if you want to peel back and check it out. But this time, I'm going to flesh it all out and go in depth about my thoughts. And I'm honestly glad that I waited on doing this video and letting time pass for my thoughts to kind of process and allow for more information to come out of the woodwork pertaining to this. It would have been less authentic if I was to just do a hot take video at the moment when they were first announced. There is a lot to discuss, so enough of the chit chat. Let's jump into what this video is all about. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, for years there was endless speculation as to what the future of Kiss would entail once the End of the Road tour concluded. There was talk of a Kiss 2.0, Las Vegas residencies, cartoon shows, traveling shows with different members, and motion picture films. It's also been said that Kiss as a brand would never die down, which is a given with the extent of merchandising the band does and other revenue streams that they can tap into. Plus, with the superhero-esque personas that they portray, there is so much that the band could get away with what media platform they pursue. In my perspective, I very much expected the Kiss brand to thrive now that the tour is done, and I truly hope that Gene and Paul continue to take stock of their back catalog and archives with more physical releases, whether it's box sets, off the soundboards, or anything they could come up with. As much as I loved Sonic Boom and Monster when they came out, maybe slightly biased since they were albums I was able to see come out as new music is out of the equation and it's simply not profitable in this modern music business model. This is also a band that has been eager to try out the latest cutting edge trends of technology on the live stage, and given what can be pulled off now, this virtual avenue the band is now pursuing doesn't quite shock me. No pun intended. If you went to the show at Madison Square Garden on December 2nd or have watched videos of it, you know exactly how it all went down. But to sort of paraphrase it, the show ended as it always did with Rock and Roll All Night, and at the very end of the song, Gene, Paul, and Tommy started to levitate off the main stage on these platforms, an effect that wasn't utilized in any other show from this End of the Road tour. Paul addresses the crowd and says that the end of the road is the beginning of another, and afterwards, a giant cloud of smoke obscures the band to the point where they are barely visible. Perhaps this was the way the band would sort of transcend into this new era and become digitally immortalized. And this was followed by a video of the avatars playing God Gave Rock and Roll to You, along with some cool projections on silk screens in the middle of the arena. So let's talk about the inner workings of this new era and the avatars. This is a partnership between Industrial Light and Magic and Pop House. The former is a special effects company founded by Star Wars mastermind George Lucas, and the latter is an entertainment company co-founded by ABBA's Bjorn Ulvaeus. Speaking of which, the most notable project both these companies worked on in the music realm is the ABBA Voyage show, where virtual avatars of the members of ABBA perform shows at a specific venue in London with fresh vocals recorded by ABBA and a live instrumental band. This being the first of its kind has proved to be an extremely successful venture with near perfect attendance records and generating $2 million per week in revenue. So the standard this sets does give a glimmer of hope for artists to embrace this endeavor in whichever way that they decide to pursue it. So there is a 30-minute interview that Gene and Paul did with some of the producers and directors of these respective companies, and I noticed a couple of key statements and pointers that kind of piqued my brain in how to perceive this. Both of them commented on how, thanks to ILM and Pop House, the two being their secret fountain of youth, the group is transcending from being human to immortal, being forever young, diversifying, and finding themselves in different parts of culture around the world. Paul in particular stated that the band itself is bigger and more recognizable than the individuals who go out wearing the makeup and the armor. From the general public's perspective, what he's saying is the truth, but as a fan like myself who is able to connect the makeup to the person wearing it, it hurts to acknowledge the harsh reality. And just to take it a step further, I think Kiss started to embrace that notion with the Scooby-Doo animation film in 2015. Notice how the Mystery Gang only refers to the members as the Demon, the Star Child, the Catman, and the Spaceman. Maybe that was a testing ground for how these larger-than-life characters can live on in different media forms. In a positive light that distances the concerns and opinions of longtime fans, I see Kiss avatars and utilizing the realm of virtual performing arts as a means of the band staying relevant with what is going on in the realm of modern technology, something that younger generations can get more of a grasp of these days. This is a band that has always done so when it comes to live performance, and that's why their stage show has never managed to become dull over the years. On the other hand, I think what saves Kiss in going down this avatar route is the fact that Gene and Paul, along with Tommy and Eric, are actively involved with the motion capture work that will go into this venture, so it is still Kiss in a sense. I am also going to bet on the fact that this venture will come with the assistance of body doubles, some of which were utilized in the ABBA Voyage show. Just to offer some perspective outside of the Kiss realm, one of ABBA's biggest advantages with pursuing the hologram avatar route is demand. They disbanded in 1982, and between then and when they reformed with the Voyage album and tour, there was the ABBA Gold compilation that became a worldwide bestseller, various tribute shows, and the Mamma Mia musical and film adaptation, and this all just tags along with the steady popularity that they endured in the 70s. So more than enough time had passed for something like this to be done. Meanwhile, Kiss kind of fumbled the ball by dropping this on us at the very end of their last ever show, which is a major gut punch for those who were so emotionally invested in this event. It felt like they were very quick to sort of flaunt and sell this new venture off to people, a la a simple preview. They just said a new era had commenced with no definitive details on what the show or tour will entail. No dates, no extreme context, nothing. Did they have the right moment and audience to drop this kind of announcement while it was being their last show? 100%. It got people talking and speculating immediately instead of there being just a video announcement posted around social media. I think it would have been in better taste to let this last show go down as it did and let time pass for them to do a major bombshell announcement in a year or two down the line. Or in this case, 3 years, since this Avatar show will now debut in 2027. I'm getting the feeling that it's still in the developmental stages, given when that long interview was filmed just a month prior to the last show. It appears that the angle Kiss is going in with these avatars hones in on the personas, thus taking it in a more superhero-esque angle. In the preview video, the guys have these sort of supernatural abilities. You have Gene with these giant bat wings and breathing fire, Tommy is levitating, Paul is shooting lasers out of his hands, and Eric is playing these sort of electronic pods as drums. Some people were rather critical with the band being portrayed in this sort of futuristic angle, but yet these are the same people who forget that Kiss always tended to be portrayed as superheroes. Just look at the Marvel comics. Kiss meets the Phantom, the Psycho Circus comics, and the computer game, as well as that god-awful Kiss Immortals game. In terms of how they look, the animation style very much reminded me of the Psycho Circus video game that I just referenced, so I did get some waves of nostalgia seeing them since I played the game quite frequently when I was younger. As for how they look, honestly, I think Tommy and Eric look the best. Paul looks a little artificial, and Gene's head just looks too misproportioned. As for where these avatars are performing, there looks to be no real staging, just futuristic landscapes. Some of it may play into a storyline. So superhero portrayals in futuristic landscapes are indeed something that deviates from the usual staging that concurs with standard concert tours, which in turn can make for a more immersive experience. As for a potential set list, I think they will play it safe as the end of the road set and cover as much casual ground and hopefully a bone to be thrown to the diehards with some deep cuts. Now, here is some hypothetical thinking from a diehard fan's perspective. This is being dubbed as a new era, but technically speaking, there have been other eras in the past, whether it be down to certain costumes and stages. Could you imagine Kiss avatars going out in their 1977 Love Gun outfits and replicating the respective tour on that iconic stage? Or, and this is maybe far-fetched, maybe to go in the vein of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, have a Kiss Eras show where the avatars could change outfits throughout the show. This idea does sort of lend itself to the fact that avatars in general are no different to video game characters that can be reskinned and altered to a certain preference. With all of this said, there is also the question that's raised where one wonders if this is going to be the new norm of live entertainment as we know it. Live music is still a hot button commodity in the business, more so than recording and releasing new music. One could argue that going to see a tribute band that pays homage to a given artist's legacy is more than sufficient to hear the music, or in Kiss's case, see a group of guys that wear the makeup and put on a show that does justice to the Kiss zeitgeist. If these avatars never came about, I would still gladly shell out my dollars to see Mr. Speed, which is a phenomenal Kiss tribute band to the point where you squint your eyes and it's as close to the real deal as possible and also provides a nostalgic trip. The last time I saw them, they were paying homage to the Unmasked tour from 1980, and everything down to the outfits, stage design, and musical arrangements were true to the original intent of what Gene, Paul, Ace, and Eric Carr provided back then. So for diehards that have such attachments to those facets of the band, a band like Mr. Speed will provide them with their sufficient Kiss fix. Outside of tribute acts, avatars and holograms come into play for those who are deceased. Ones for Tupac, Roy Orbison, Buddy Holly, and Ronnie James Dio have been done, and as interesting as they are, the deceased notion does make it a bit eerie, but in Kiss's case, being in a position where it's becoming physically impossible for them to keep up with what they provide, the avatar route may be what's best. Just to touch again on what I mentioned with this announcement dropping with no context, it leaves people wondering if this is going to be a residency type deal or could this be a traveling tour. ABBA Voyage is held within a custom venue that holds a capacity of 3,000 at London's Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, so for Kiss, could it be held at the theater at Madison Square Garden? There's also the Penn and Teller Theater at the Rio Hotel in Las Vegas, where the Kiss World Mini Golf and Museum is, somewhere in Los Angeles. I think they'll at least keep it within the mainland of the US. But let's take a step outside of that. Could these avatars also exist in other forms such as video games, cartoons, films, and such? It can transcend so many entertainment mediums, and that's the one takeaway from this that's generally positive. The possibilities are endless, and there's really no limits as to where this could go. I personally don't think that this new era of Kiss is going to tarnish or muck around with everything the band has accomplished in the 50-year span of them being an active recording and touring band. I think Gene and Paul are accepting with closing the book on what was a tremendous run, and the fact that they wrapped up this end of the road tour at 50 years is very poignant and special. Now the future is in front of them, and they are going to be future generations that eagerly await to see what many consider an American phenomenon and a spectacle that deserves to be witnessed. Before I wrap up this discussion, I want to draw some attention to a press blurb that dates back to 1979. Who wrote it and where it comes from is unknown to me, but they went on to say, open quote, "Theoretically, people don't know what the performers in Kiss look like without their kabuki-oriented makeup. Kiss doesn't have to worry about aging, one of the most dreadful occurrences in the usual rock star's life. If Gene Simmons is content to continue wagging his tongue in public until he is 85, who's to say he won't be able to get away with it? It appears that Kiss can keep going on as long as the quartet is willing to do its thing. Like Disney films, there is always a new audience for Kiss, even if the audience is mostly 9 years old." Did this journalist foresee the future? What do you guys think? Please drop a comment down below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video. And most importantly, keep the records spinning.